Good afternoon, friends. Thank you for joining us on Men Talk. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is the present, and it's a gift from God. I have with me today a very interesting, intelligent, and charming not young, take the young back. None of us are young, except Kevin. He's young. Anyway, welcome Ron Schneider to the show. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Judy.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Ron Schneider. She said it up front first, and I am from Lebanon. I guess I could be considered a native of Lebanon.
Okay, very few can say that.
Very few can say that, I'm sure. I was born right on East Street, out by the golf course and the park area there. There's that's the East Street that runs up there. I was born right there.
Okay.
On the street, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, a long time ago.
You know, how many brothers or sisters? You don't have any brothers.
I have no brothers. I have 3 sisters. They're all still living, by the way.
Wow, that's amazing.
We're all getting up in years, of course, but that's what happens. But anyway, so went to school here in Lebanon. We entered up at the White Building, which was number one, your first and second grade.
Okay. Is that over by the new post office?
It's by the White Building is sitting there by the post office. That was where everybody, if you went to school in Lebanon, that was where you entered, that little white building there. And you spent 2 years there, which I can remember still. Not great, but it was not bad. And then you go over to the Red Building. Of course, the Red Building was across the street, and it's a playground now.
Oh.
They knocked the building down and built it up for other purposes, so to speak. And then after the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at that building. And then after that, you go across the street on down, across to the old high school. It's, I think, an elementary school today.
Yes.
But it's the old high school. That was where you finished up your tour of duty, so to speak.
I know which building you mean.
Yeah.
Since I'm not from Lebanon, but I do know that.
Yeah. It was popular back in those days. I don't know when it switched over because once I got out and got away, it was hard to keep totally involved in things going on in Lebanon, although I did because I had still a number of friends here and had family. Not in Lebanon. Well, I did at that time. They have since migrated to Mason.
Oh.
And so anyway, that was it. Nothing. The high school years, they were just nothing out of the ordinary.
Did you play some sports in high school?
I was, I think, considered a decent athlete. Not necessarily that great, but decent enough. I lettered 3 times in football, 3 times in baseball, and then once in basketball. Got a letter. Big, and of course, you'd think that was great, but we were in a small school, and it was something out of the ordinary. But during my last year in school, I did have I got a letter from a coach from Miami University. You might think, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it was a big deal if you stop and think who the coach was. Ara Parsegian. Now, most people, unless you're a football person, you don't know who in the world Ara Parsegian is. But he is a very popular coach. He went on to be actually win the United States championship at one time out at Notre Dame.
Oh.
But at that period of time, he was in Miami, the cradle of coaches. That's what they call Miami, because all your head coaches stopped in Miami and coached for a year or two. Look, you had Woody Hayes. I know you know Woody.
Yes, and I know that
You
name.
had Paul Brown. Remember Paul Brown?
A little bit.
He did, but the Browns are named after Paul Brown, of course. And then Bo Schembechler. He was no, you wouldn't. These names, these are big time coaches though that went on after actually starting.
I bet Kevin recognizes him
Well, I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
because he's in
Oh, yeah.
sports.
Yeah. Well, you got Bo Schembechler. He's still around. I think he's maybe the athletic director up at Michigan. He went on to Michigan, but him and Woody Hayes still stayed friendly up to a certain degree, up until game time anyway. But it was a very, very tough rivalry. But anyway, he sent me a letter. I'm getting off track. Ara Parsegian sent me a letter, of course. He wanted me to come over to Miami University, look around the campus, and discuss possibility of me maybe going to school there.
Yes.
So it sounds interesting. And I lay the letter aside, and I hardly ever look at it again. I ended up never ever responding to that letter. I don't know whether there's a phone number on it or not. I never sent anything back. So I just let it die. Well, my mom wasn't interested. She said, it was one of those kinds of things. And my dad, he was here and there. So anyway, it ended up, that was an opportunity missed, I guess you might say.
Yes.
I don't know whether it was good or bad, but I ended up doing nothing. But my plans, when I didn't enjoy school. I enjoyed the sports at school, but I didn't enjoy the academics. I'm not an academic person, I don't think. Maybe I'm more academic than but anyway, I was just waiting to get out of school.
What did you do after high school?
It's a good question. I investigated going into the military.
Okay.
The military, what? Well, it was still, the Korean War was still on. When I was looking, when I graduated from high school, Korea was still fighting. And I said, well, I don't know. It's maybe the thing to do. I can't honestly say why I went in the military or why I went in the Marine Corps. It was actually the U.S. Marine Corps. A good friend of mine there in school, his brother was in the Marines, and we talked about it. He and I, whichever you prefer. And so we talked about it, and then he would say, well, what? And I said, well, I'd like to try the Air Force. Big deal, like I'm going to fly a plane or something. Well, why not? But anyway, he said, well, why don't you check the Marine Corps? He says, I'll drive you down. Cincinnati was where you're recruited out of. It was it's the only recruiter said they didn't have a station in Lebanon or Middletown, I don't think, as far as I can understand. So we drive down to Cincinnati there to the post office where the recruiting offices were. And I talked to the guy in Air Force, but it was kind of convoluted, so I couldn't get anything out of him that much. So I talked to the guy in the Marine Corps. The guy was all pushy, ready to go, gung-ho, whatever you want to call it. And I said, this doesn't sound bad, but they said, well, it's opportunity of a lifetime, of course. But you have to be, I said, well, look, I'm only 17 years old. Oh, it's okay. You get your mom to sign this here piece of paper, and they give you a piece of paper. Well, anybody could sign it, naturally, we understand. It's not notarized or anything of that nature. So he gives me an okay. I said, well, I'm going to check it out. So I come home and talk to my mom. She's very ambivalent. I'll go ahead, well, maybe I'll go ahead, one of those sorts of things. And she said, hey, if that's what you want to do, I'll sign it. So she signs it, and I go back down, and I enlist in the Marine Corps. That's how I got there. My buddy, his brother was in the Marine Corps at that particular time, and had been there for several years. So, but he said, why don't you join the Marines? Okay. So anyway.
Once a Marine?
Yeah.
Always a Marine.
Yeah. You could say, was that good or bad? I don't know. In some cases it was good. Right. Some cases it was not so good. But here we are. I'm a 17-year-old kid. I still think a kid. You're mature, but you're not really mature enough. But anyway, that's beside. There's a lot of 17, 18-year-old kids in there going full speed ahead, I'll say that.
Right.
But there was 2 or 3 other guys that was going in with me. Guy from Middletown was going in. A guy from up in Greenville, he came down. So they set up the recruitment office there, set it up, and said, you're going to have to go out to San Diego to recruit depot out there. The one, I guess, down in the Carolinas, Parris Island, is not available. And so I'm thinking, here we are, we're sitting on, it's a bus trip down to Parris Island, but it's a nice flight out to LAX. That's where you fly out to.
Right.
So, but I said, well, he said, that's what it has. I said, that's okay. I'm not really that particular, and I really wasn't. And they weren't. They didn't know about it. We were just kids. We had one guy with us who had actually spent some time in the Air Force, and he was going in with us, and he was okay at the time. I mean, you know, he offered some support, so to speak. And so
That had to be scary for 17-year-olds.
it was very different. It was way out of our range, I'll say
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yes.
Plus, you got 4 or 5 people there. Somebody's in charge of them. Who do you think they put in charge of them? These guys. Exactly. and I'm looking here. I'm 17-year-old. He gives me a list. Okay, you got to take these guys and get some dinners, and you got to get your airplane tickets. So he kind of explains it to me. So well, okay. So we fly out, and it's okay. It works out okay. I had to get them meals and stuff. We had to have them meals, so we had script or chits, whatever you want to call it, to use while we were traveling. So we get on the bus and we're going down to San Diego, right, driving right along the Pacific Ocean. Here we are, looking out the windows. Here's the ocean. 24 hours ago, you were in Ohio looking out the window at God knows what. So,
Right.
So there you go. We're traveling on down this. It's SOP stuff, standard operating procedure. It's the way it operates. I know that now, but I wasn't really quite ready for all the attention. So we go down to San Diego, and here's the telephone number. You call this number when you get there, and hello, and then they recruit depot. They come out and get you in a little pickup truck. So you're riding in it. It's not that far. I don't remember what the distance was from, but they dump you off there and put you into what they call a holding company or a holding regiment or a holding platoon. Whatever. It depends on your size of how many people they're holding. So so there you just kind of go in and kind of mingle around. You still got your nice civilian clothes on, and here everybody else have got their uniforms on and this sort of thing. And you're just waiting for more people to come in so they can actually have a platoon that they can work with to mold you in to a Marine. Oh, God. And,
How long were you in San Diego?
San Diego, it was all summer. It was 3 months. It's a 3 months deal.
Oh,
June. I went in June, actually, after high school. It was 2 weeks out of high school. It's a recruit depot. It's just like the one there in Parris Island, and that's where they actually train you to, do what's required, so to speak. And they have some oddball ways of doing it, but that's the Marine Corps for you.
did you get a uniform?
Well, yeah. Well, you get your hair cut first.
Uh-oh.
Oh God! And then they're running that trimmer back through your hair, and you're bald headed. Oh, yeah. That's a humiliating place to start to begin. You're bald headed, especially at that time in your life. You got all kinds of nice hair, flat top or otherwise, who knows what. But anyway, so you go through the hair. The hair is probably the most humiliating spot yet, I'll say, because it could be more to come.
I bet a lot of our veterans are reliving this with you.
They like that.
That went through this.
Yeah. Now, see, I don't know that every branch of the military has some of this kind of stuff in boot camp. They're not, well, I know my buddy, my traveling partner, Cassidy, he was in the Army. He didn't have anything going on, so I'm assuming they didn't have quite the discipline we had. Let's call it discipline.
Okay.
But so you're in a holding company, you get your platoon together, and new clothes, and they give you a bucket with all your razors and toothpaste and this, and here's your bucket. Keep your bucket handy. So, and then of course all your clothes are on your arm, and then you go on into a Quonset hut where you're going to be stationed or where you're going to be training, and change clothes and package up. They have a package and send your other stuff home. Take your shoes off because you got nice shiny black shoes as compared to whatever you had, white bucks, I guess, maybe before. And then they package that stuff up and send it home.
Is there a story about an iron?
Oh, this is after. yes, there is, by the way. This is after boot camp is over with. You go. There's nothing necessarily bad about boot camp. It was tough, but at 17, 18 years old, physically you're able to withstand most of the stuff they put you through.
Right.
A little bit of BS here and there, but it's not, it's not beyond handling. Let's put it like that. But you talk about an iron. Well, when you go up to the rifle range, you do spend about a week up at the rifle range. They march you up to and that's where you get your gun. Well, you can't call it a gun now. You got to call it a rifle.
Rifle.
Oh yeah, can't call it a gun. Please.
Not a gun.
No. So anyway, but that's where you learn to use the rifle. Yeah, you spend a week up there of practicing how to do it and this to do it and what the distance you're shooting from, stuff like that, and then you qualify. Then you march back down to San Diego. I don't know how far it was, but it was a pretty good march for us. But anyway, that's from everybody that goes into San Diego. That's where they go for their rifle range training. And back down, getting over to the iron business. As the time goes by, you're going in all the classes, taking classes and customs and courtesy type stuff, and then all of a sudden it's almost all over with. Boot camp gets over with, and then you're graduating. And when you graduate, and when your camp is done, after they go in and they evaluate you as to how you did throughout the training program, whether you got in any trouble or not, or whether you screwed up here or screwed up there, who knows what. But it was you were evaluated, and they had to pick. Back then, I don't know if they still do this or not. They had to pick an honor man. An Iron Man. They gave away 2 gifts, presents, awards, whatever you want to call them. One was an iron. The other one was what was it? A radio? I think it was a radio or something. It was something that you said, oh boy, nice radio. But no. Who do you think they picked for the honor man?
I'm guessing you.
Of course, I wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't me, naturally. But yeah, and I thought, here I'm still 17 years old, But physically, you can do anything they tell you to do. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but so here the guy, when they say, okay, when they pick, say, here's your honor man present, an iron, and he says, you're going to bless me one of these days. I said, an iron? He says, yeah, it'll really come in handy. And bet your bottom dollar, it did come in handy throughout the years, I'll say that. It's one of the handiest item that you have in the barracks. You don't need it, everybody doesn't need an iron. Those are usually in the way we used to do it, the way I did it when I got mine, then there were a couple other irons in there. When we come time to iron our clothes or iron whatever we're ironing, everybody needed an iron, and there were so many available. So we rented the iron out.
Oh.
Here, we'll rent you this iron. Here, you can keep it for 10 minutes for $1, or you can keep it for 20 minutes for $5. Yeah. So whoever had the iron had irons. They were well in demand. And I found that out, later on when you got stationed someplace where you used it to keep your clothes halfway decent, or more or less on inspections. That's where you would really use your iron more, because when you're having an inspection of sorts, they have all kinds of inspections in there, and they would, have your stuff all pressed out there. You could have it, and have your clothes, creased and stuff like that. So it was a godsend. Thank you, God. And you'd think an iron, it wasn't a big deal, but it was a fairly big deal,
Did you still have the iron?
No, I don't know what happened to it. I lost it somewhere in transit, I guess.
Oh, probably.
I can't remember exactly what, but it's gone. So, but it worked. I had it for several years. I'll say that. I do remember that, but I can't remember exactly how long. But anyway, and that's about the end of your boot camp training.
That was interesting, and I know a lot of veterans that went through boot camps.
Oh, yeah.
They relate some of that to theirs, sure.
Everybody that was in the Marine Corps, yeah, they can relate to boot camp. It's a little bit more strenuous than, it's, but it's stuff that you can do. Uh-huh. Now today, I have no idea how they handle some of that stuff. They would go overboard a little bit too much when they was hitting you on the head with what they call a swagger stick. A swagger stick is just kind of a stick that generally the officers carry. They have their own little swagger stick, and they would come. Say you're in ranks, and you're just standing there. They'd come up and they might hit you in the head with that stick. Stuff like that. Uh-huh. Piddly stuff, but it was just part of the ritual, I guess.
So you enjoyed being a Marine?
Yes, sometimes. It's kind of a yes and no type situation. Sometimes you like it, sometimes it's like life.
Yes.
Sometimes you're happy with it, sometimes you're not so happy. That's the same way in the Marine Corps. So anyway, but you got to spend a month up in combat training. And it's difficult, but it's not, out of the ordinary. But you do away with all the piddly stuff that you go through with boot camp. Now you're actually a Marine. You're through boot camp, and then you're up here training at, and then they come by and they say, they also tell you when you get out of your combat training, well, where you're going now. Everybody's going to different places.
Sure.
All over the country, and and then they're reading me where I'm going. You're going to Quantico, Virginia. I ended up going to ordnance school. Quantico, Virginia is set up. It's a big base now today. It wasn't that big back then, and they had a lot of officers training at that base at Quantico, and they had ordnance school, which I got involved in ordnance, which is weapons and stuff like that, and it was several months down there. But Washington, D.C., yes, it was 15, 20 miles from Washington. Uh-huh. Yeah, we used to go up all the time and spend some time. I can't remember visit different. Nobody had any cars, so you had to make do with what you got and get on a tour bus if you wanted a tour or something.
So what are your hobbies now, or what do you like to do now? I mean, you live here now?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you lived here?
Well, I've been here for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
I got very few hobbies. I used to play golf.
Oh.
I don't play golf anymore. I got tired. I basically got tired of it. But
what about travel? You like travel's kind of a hobby.
I like to travel, yes. And read. I like to read.
Read, of course.
I like to dance.
That's right.
I like to think of myself as a good dancer.
Yes.
Maybe that's accurate, maybe it isn't. But
That
you'll have
is
to ask,
true.
you'll have to ask some of my partners. And I don't really have any partners. I do when I'm dancing, but I haven't been dancing for a while because I'm just recovering from hip replacement.
Okay. Yeah, that'll slow you down a little bit for
Slows
now.
you down, yeah. So, but I think, I'm coming along okay. So eventually I'm going to recover and maybe get back to
I certainly
swing
hope you do
dancing,
too.
country
Yes.
and western.
Yes.
Yes, it's
So, what was your big trip you want to tell us about?
actually it's what generated this book here, my USA tour.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was living. Well, this came in 2013.
Okay.
I can remember dates pretty well. But how this book actually came to pass was it started out. This guy here, Donald Cassidy, lives in Florida, Cocoa Beach area of Florida, which is Daytona Beach, down up and down the coast there. And he's an old neighbor of mine, an old high school friend of mine. I've known him, but I never stayed. Well, I'd stay in touch a little bit because I would stay with him occasionally when I'm in Florida and just piddling around. Well, in 2006, my wife dies.
Oh,
So
sorry to hear
consequently,
that.
yeah, thank you. Then that changes your lifestyle for a while
Yes.
until you understand what's going on with life. But anyway, getting back to the book. Now I get off subject every once in a while, so you'll have to correct me if.
I'm with you on this.
Okay. But so he calls me from Florida, and we talk all the time. Some of the time, not a great lot, but he was wanting to do some kind of a little road trip type program, and he was by himself in Florida. He had a condo there in Cocoa Beach, and I'm doing nothing up here. I'm just I didn't quit playing golf yet, but it wasn't taking up my whole time. So we're just chit-chatting, of course, and then he says, I'm going to be up in Lebanon so-and-so time. Got a sister that still lives up this area, so he's got people to visit. And he said, we'll talk. I said, yeah, sure, come up, stay with me. So he stays with me, comes up, stays with me a couple, and we get talking about a road trip, and we set upon a general idea. We'll get together, we'll split the expenses, we'll start driving. He had a tentative idea of where we were going to travel, and he says, we'll use my car, his car. He had a nice Buick LaCrosse, a decent sized car.
Yeah,
actually.
it is.
And he's a computer nerd. He says, and more so than me. I'm not a nerd at all. I wish I was more nerdy but that's beside the point. So he says, I'll book the rooms. He said, I'll book. I said, you'll book the rooms. What's that mean? He said, well, that means when we're traveling, I'll get on the computer and I'll set us up some places to stay.
That's good.
That's what I thought too.
Did you do most of the driving?
I did all the driving. You see, this is what we want to do. Just stop at a place, visit something that was necessarily important for that area, and then get in the car and travel to another place, and then another place, and then another place. Do that all the way around the United States. We're just getting started. Nashville.
Okay.
He'd spent some time in Nashville, and he liked it. He went to Ryman Auditorium. You hear that all the time. But so he says that's what we'll do. We'll go down. We'll spend a week. We'll spend a night in Nashville. He says in the summertime, they're in the 2-block area of the Nashville downtown. They party out in the street. Always got all this music. They got all these bars, places. They got music in all of them. We'll just hit the bars, and then we'll get in the car. Then we'll drive over to Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Biltmore.
Yes.
Stop at the Biltmore house. That's good. So we drive over to spend the night, get out, Biltmore. Right? Then what's our next trip? Chattanooga. Down to Chattanooga. Lookout Mountain, beautiful view, tourist area. We we're big-time tourists now, of course, but we never spend any time, any great amount of time at any location. We wanted it to be quick. Stop in, hit a high spot, move on. Hey, why not? Then we get back in our motel. We're off to New Orleans. So he had never been to New Orleans before. So we drive on down to New Orleans. We get off there at downtown at the French Quarter. Actually, we was only about a block away from the French Quarter, the Garden District. Had to drive on down to Café du Monde, which is a very touristy area because of the beignets. The little beignets that comes out of Café du Monde. They're great. They're just super. I'll put it like that. And that's Jackson Square is down there because then you got Jackson Cathedral right there. So we come into New Orleans, spend a night or two, I can't remember, maybe a couple, because we got on a trolley that goes up to the Garden District and all these big, nice old houses down in there. It's beautiful. And gardens are all in bloom. So where are we getting ready to go again? It's all, okay.
What was the little French saying you say?
Oh, laissez les bons temporaires l'air. Yes. Let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll.
You see that plaque on all kinds of buildings and stuff. Laissez les bons temporaires l'air. Let the good times roll. And that's what they do down there. But we don't participate. We're past past participation age, of course. Then we get on. Then we say, where are we going next? Well, he says, so we're going to Houston. We're starting west. And because I said, what's going on in Houston? He said, well, there's some people there from Lebanon. And he said, I've been in touch. And he says, we'll stop and see them, and then we'll continue on. So we stopped in Houston. We saw these people he knows. Had dinner, I think, with them. But then the next day, we're off and gone again. We're going to San Antonio. Very nice place. You got Riverwalk.
Yes. And
the Alamo. Oh, it's right there. But it's hot. It was over 100 degrees when we were there. Memorial Day weekend. It's a hot period of time. And then we're heading west still. We're heading west. Where are you going? El Paso. Oh, El Paso. What's down there? There wasn't really anything we wanted to see. He was stationed at El Paso at one time in White Sands, which was a missile range there in the Army. So he wanted to stop. And it was just a place, we just stay overnight and recover, just kind of kick back and not do anything, which we didn't. And then we had to decide, well, where we're going to go from San Antonio, El Paso, and then we want to go up into Albuquerque and then up that way. He said there's another little town up in New Mexico. It's, he said, we were just kind of cooling off, I think we call it, whatever it was. So we go up there, a little town, we stop and eat lunch at Albuquerque. And then with Ruidoso, see, most people wouldn't know what Ruidoso is, but it was a little town about, it's very high. It had the highest elevated golf course in the United States. Up, I don't know how many thousand feet they were, but that was the highest elevated golf course there is. And so we didn't play any golf. We didn't do anything. We just kind of hung around, so to speak. And then we come back down to Santa Fe, which is more of a tourist type area, and it's good, but I wouldn't go there for, if I was to recommend it. But anyway, and then we said, well, now we're going to start heading west again. We down south, so we go over into Flagstaff, Arizona.
I've heard of that.
And you say, well, what in the world's at Flagstaff? Grand Canyon. That's where we hit the Grand Canyon. It wasn't right in Flagstaff, of course, but you had to drive a little bit to get to a location where you could, view the canyon. So yeah, we stop at Flagstaff, spend the night, go at Grand Canyon, which I do recommend. It's a beautiful spot, and of course, I see you probably enjoyed it.
Yep.
I did a lot. So we going up into where are we going? We're going to Grand Canyon now. We're headed out toward Las Vegas.
Of course, you can't miss Las
No,
Vegas.
we're right it's right on our road going to California. So he says, hey, and then said, we'll go out to Las Vegas. He said, I'll book us a place. He didn't say where. And we stop at the Hoover Dam on the way out there. There it is. You can't stop it, but it's a nice tourist attraction. We stop and we go there, and it's pretty nice.
Did you get to tour the?
Yeah, we
That
went
was
down
quite
in.
a feat.
Yeah, it was very interesting. But yeah, we did. We went down to the bottom of the dam there and went through all the machinery and stuff like that. But and then we come back up, and then Las Vegas is not that far away from that point,
Right.
as we know. So we go, and he books us a room at the Luxor Hotel.
That's
that
a
big
nice
black,
hotel.
the room, the pyramid-shaped building.
Yes.
And you think, damn, this is pretty nice. And it was pretty nice, but it wasn't that expensive. Of course, they rely on you playing the
That's right. They're going to take your
gamble.
money.
Yeah. They don't care if you stay, just gamble. And he gambles. He likes to gamble. I didn't care. But we only stayed. We didn't have any plans on staying. We just, okay, place to recover a little bit. And then we get on. Okay, we're going to California, but we're going through Death Valley first.
Uh-oh.
Death Valley. So, because it's right outside Las Vegas. And we go over and we get on Death Valley. And it's a long valley going up and down. And you can either get on it and drive lengthwise, or you can just cross over it to go into California. But we drove. He wanted to drive up the length of the valley, or sort of the length of it, and we got off at the lowest point in the United States. I think, I don't know how many feet below sea level it was, but there's a big marker and everything there that you get off. But there's nothing to see. It's all desert. It's all desolate. I wouldn't recommend going to Death Valley as a tourist item, but we did. We went on up and then went across. Finally got out of Death Valley and into Bakersfield. Nothing going on in Bakersfield, but a lot of farmland. That's where and that's okay. But we're just, you have to stop in there because it's too far to drive on over to California just yet. But we do. We stay all night in Bakersfield, and then we drive on over to California the next day. Yeah. And we come into an area called, with San Luis Obispo. I'm sure you've seen it and heard somewhere along the trail. I think we all have. So we stay all night in that general area. Then we want to go on up to around Monterey, Pebble Beach, and that sort of stuff. And they have a 17-mile tour drive. Pebble Beach is the golf course,
yes,
of course.
Yes.
You're aware of that. And it's a tour. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It's a 17-mile tour drive around to show the houses and the scenery and this and that. So we get in, of course, we drive around the 17-mile tour. And so from that point on, our next...
Did you get up to Napa Valley?
No, we didn't. We never got off the coast.
Oh.
That was the problem. We never got off the coast. We should have, I guess, to try to get into some of the wine-growing countries, the wine-making countries, or country area. But no, we was focused now on getting up to San Francisco. So we always would focus on where's our next stop, and of course, and every place we did stop was pretty decent. He had booked all this stuff on the computer as we're driving along. Oh, we got to stop at such and such, and we found all of them. I don't. To this day, I'm wondering how did we find all those places, but we found them, and we stayed on most of them, and most of them were pretty good. To be honest with
It's
you.
amazing how much you got to see in 30 days.
Well, we're still
You really was scheduled.
10,000 miles, 11,000
Yes.
miles we're driving up the coast, Big Sur. You remember called the Big Sur? That's along the coastline of California. So we're taking the Big Sur route up, and our goal now is Seattle. And we're saying, but of course we're driving up to San Francisco at this point. Well, not Seattle yet. We're still trying to get into San Francisco, and it is a mess driving. Oh God! But anyway, he had booked us a place in an old raggedy motel about 2 blocks off of Fisherman's Wharf. If you've heard, I know you. Well, you may have been there. I don't know, but Fisherman's Wharf is it's a tourist area down along the wharf there in San Francisco. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge from there, and you can see Alcatraz.
Did you take the trolley?
We took the trolley.
Right.
We was on. It just goes. It really isn't a commercial trolley. It's just strictly for people riding.
Tourists.
Yeah, mostly that. It goes. It goes out to where it runs. Its length of it and turns around, then it comes back.
I've done it.
Yeah. It's an interesting area there. But we did take a double-decker tourist bus, the sightseeing bus, where they drive you around and you can get off. We get off at Chinatown, which was an interesting place, and but there are not that many places to get off of. The rest of it go through the Haight-Ashbury section of. Remember the old Haight-Ashbury section, which was back in the flowers in your hair day?
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No, I never did that.
From the Flower Child?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, hippie crowd.
Hippie, yes, that's what they were, hippies. But we went on. We took the double-decker bus, got off when we went to it, which we got off at Chinatown. And it was interesting, and actually ate lunch in Chinatown at a typical China restaurant. It was he wanted to try something authentic. So
right.
And of course, I don't remember what it was that we got, but it must have been authentic because they were all Chinamen around us. There wasn't any tourists at this location where we were checking out, so to speak. But anyway, so. And then, of course, it comes right back down to Fisherman's Wharf. That's where they, embark from Fisherman's Wharf. Say you got, you want to take a tour there. They have some tour buses down there. So, but that's
where we had the best fried shrimp.
Fried shrimp, yeah.
A couple times.
Well, yeah, we had some fish down there. I think was.
Oh, you're up in Seattle, Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah, well.
Where they throw the fish across.
Yeah. Well, we get up there. We're not there yet. We're still down in
San Francisco.
Fisherman's Wharf, yeah. And we're only a couple of blocks away from Lombard Street. You've heard of Lombard Street? It's that street that you have to got the.
Oh
snake.
Yes, we rode that.
Did you go through it? Well, we didn't go through it, but it was a couple of blocks up from where we were staying. But the place we were staying, as I have to say, wasn't all that great. But we were just coming in for a day or so we didn't care whether it was great or not. But we was close enough to walk to Fisherman's Wharf. Now the walk from where we were was downhill, very nice. But then we had to turn around and walk back up after spending some time down there, and that was kind of difficult. But that was about it. So we could walk back up, and we'd seen everything we wanted to see. So we get back on and go across Golden Gate Bridge and head north again. Now our goal is Seattle, but it's too far to drive in one day. So we drive up the coast, and I think we stay right around Portland somewhere, just a place to stay for. And then we go on up and drive into Interstate 5. We take it up to Seattle, and get off in that general area, downtown area. Pike Street Market. Remember Pike Street Market? No. Pike Street Market is right there, which they throw the fish around
well, I do know that about the fish, but I didn't know it was named that.
Yeah. That's where that takes place. Pike Street. And of course Starbucks right across the street, their original Starbucks.
Yes, that closed.
Yeah, well, it did close, huh?
That did close recently.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not a big Starbucks fan, so I don't care. That's for sure. Uh, but anyway, we were headed for it, and we got there. We got to Seattle just fine. But our goal, of course, was getting over to Vancouver Island. You know, because Vancouver Island is in Canada, and it's not. So we get up there, and he books us a place. It was good, and then we say we want to go back. We want to go up to Vancouver Island and get on a ferry boat and take the ferry over to Busch Art Gardens or Vancouver Island, because you can't get there. There are no bridges or anything like that. And he lost his passport. He lost his passport. He thought he lost it or it got stolen somewhere when we were in our travels. I said, well, so consequently, we couldn't go over to Busch Art Gardens, which is, to me, is one of the most fabulous garden areas that I've ever seen personally. But we couldn't get into Canada to get over there. Well, I guess there might have been a spot on down south of Seattle that you could take a ferry. I don't think there was anything going out of Seattle. This was up the ferry that I'm telling you about, come out of Vancouver, the capital of what? Vancouver, Providence or something. I'm not sure. So, so we missed that. We missed that trip. There he lost his passport. So now we're dead. We're thinking, oh God. So now we have to head back east. We're up there in Seattle. We want to go east. So there's not much. If you look and see, there's not much tourist there. Well, there's tourist area, but you like to be a camper or something like that. But we head out toward Yellowstone Park. That looked like our next place that we want to stop and kill some time. And you got Old Faithful.
Right.
So we sort of headed east. We do stop. I think we stop overnight at Spokane, which is a beautiful, beautiful area. You got the mountains, you got the trees, and that sort of thing. But then we cruised on over to Yellowstone National Park, and you see Old Faithful. I don't know whether I would recommend seeing that or not, but it wasn't bad. It was more interesting than you would think. You would think, well, you know, here he's just spraying the water up in the air. But it was what comes around every, 50, 60 minutes or something like that. I forget the time span.
I never saw that.
Oh, okay. I forget what the time span was of Yellowstone, Old Faithful. But we stopped there. And then we go on. Now our next planned route is Mount Rushmore. Then we get off. We'll get back on the road up around the Billings, Montana. But we stay overnight in Missoula, Montana.
Oh yeah, tell us.
It's on the road. It's on the road east. I could say that. And we stayed there, but we only stayed there because we just needed a place to stay. There was nothing to see there, but the scenery is beautiful. The mountains, you can see the mountains. And then I'd said earlier that give me some potato soup, and I'm happy with that. And he had come across this restaurant. It was out in back of our motel, Jake's Steakhouse. I remember it well. Had the best potato soup I've ever had in my life. I still like it to this day. Maybe I should take a trip back out there
You might have
to get some potato soup, or settle for second best. They have a place over here in Monroe with Clubhouse, which is good too. You would enjoy it, I'm sure. But it's if you like potato soup. So that's the only thing that we had going for us at that point in time. At Jake's Steakhouse, he had a big steak, so he was happy, and I had potato soup. I was happy. So we're getting in the car again, ready to go. And of course, you do pass through General Custer's Last Stand Park monument area there, up in there. It's not that scenic. There's not that much to it. So we stopped by, but there wasn't nothing to to actually ride home about, so to speak. And so then we get off there. Rapid City, I think, is the area where Mount Rushmore is, and we get off and go in and drive in, and we spend the day, most of the day at Mount and the evening. I recommend seeing Mount Rushmore in the night, in the evening when it gets dark. Then they have it all lit up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's all lit, and it's beautiful. At that time of the night, and the lights are on it. Oh, it's so. I think so much more significant after dark. But anyway, so we like that a lot. And then we're basically done. We run out of places to go, so we swing on back. We're going back to Ohio, and we swing back down the road. I think we go to Sioux Falls. There's a place where you hear that name somewhere. I don't know what's there, but there is nothing there to see that we're aware of. And then we go on down to where Indianapolis, I think, and then cut across it, then come on into Ohio, and we're back in Ohio again.
You have a great memory for all these
Everything's
places.
in my memory, yes.
Because that's what, 12 years ago?
2013.
So you have a good memory of all these different places.
It's all, yeah. Well, I kept a log of all the places that we traveled and some little odds and ends of stuff that was in there. And I had a book. I still got it at home. And so we didn't think anything about books at that particular time. We were done, although he had to drive back to Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Right, sure.
He wasn't done. I was done. So because it was a long trip. It was 12,000 miles over 30 days.
I know, that's amazing.
We were traveling. It was great, though. 2 old men out there on the road. That's what he should have named us. That's what 2 old men on the road, huh?
So if anybody wants to look at your book, they can come to the library when you're there and look at it.
Yes.
You only has one copy, don't you? You only have one copy.
One copy is all I've got.
But they can look at your book if they want to.
I would be glad to lend it to anybody. And some of them, I have loaned it out to some people. And it's a fast book. It's a quick read. It's just a little tidbit of our trip. Now,
you be careful lending it out because you want to be sure to get it back.
That's the only thing that that worries me. If you loan it out and then it gets lost, and I'm sure they could come up with another one. Maybe I could call my buddy down in Florida.
He might
still
have
alive.
a bunch of them.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, he might have a bedroom full of these books. He might be the only one that bought it. I don't know what kind of.
Well, it sounded like a wonderful trip, and a trip most people don't get to do all at one time.
Agreed.
They might visit these places individually, but to do it in 130 days, pretty amazing.
It's something we'd all like to do. Just throw down everything, get in the car. Let's just get in the car and go. How many times have you said, well, let's just go and see where we turn up? But no, people don't do that.
Well, thank you for that. That was very interesting, and
You're welcome.
About the Marine Corps was interesting, and everything you've talked about has been very interesting.
And the only other part we got is me coming back and my buddy going to Florida. And of course, all this time he's badgering me to move to Florida.
Right.
And I do go down, not a lot, but some, and I stayed with him some. And I said, okay, I'm going to move to Florida. I told him that. I said, he says, stay with me, split the expense. Hey, we'll be living good. And actually, the next year, I sold my house, sold furniture, gave it away, whatever you want to call it. But I got rid of it. The only thing I kept that you could move with you was my TV set.
Oh, got to have your TV set.
Yeah, the rest of it, I gave away clothes. I said, I'm going to Florida. I don't need this coat. I don't need this hat. And I go down there and
But your roots brought you back.
Yes, but I ended up spending about 10 years there. Not all with him. I spent when I initially got down there. It was great. I mean, him and I were so compatible that it was easy to live with.
Right.
We lived with each other just fine.
Well, your story is very interesting. We've all been glad to hear it. And they can stop in and visit you in the library in the mornings sometimes.
You're right. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're welcome.
Well, thank you. You want to say goodbye to our audience?
Everyone,
Bye, everybody. And watch for when Kevin runs this on OLN.
enjoy your trip.
Enjoy traveling. Bye-bye.